Okay, this is the lecture for Chapter 10, Leadership 2.0. This chapter, we are going to highlight skills and techniques for adapting one's leadership approach to meet the needs of a virtual world and virtual organizations. So, virtual leadership may be regarded as highly contextual due to the varied aims, demands, and organizations of different virtual settings. Because of this, the way that it has to be so in context, we're going to examine both virtual leadership and the organizational structure of virtual settings from multiple aspects. The evolution of virtual workforce, including the impact of outsourcing and telecommuting, formation and maintenance of virtual teams, as well as some challenges facing virtual teams and their leaders, will be examined. There will also be an examination of the technologies relevant to leadership in a virtual organization. We're going to touch upon some of the commonly used technologies and communication methods which virtual leaders can be familiar with to be competent in using in order to be an effective virtual leader. And this is an important chapter considering if you're in the online class, you are going to be part of a virtual team. And if you're in the in-person class, you are going to be part of the blended virtual team in which you're going to have to participate virtually part of the time to communicate to each other, and then also in person. So, Leadership 2.0. This is a view of contemporary leadership symbolizing the changes in leadership and teamwork which aim to enhance creativity, information sharing, and collaboration using mobile communication devices and primarily the World Wide Web. Virtual leadership is the ability to interact and manage others through methods other than traditional face-to-face contact and in-person communication. New technology and people's ability to work from anywhere has turned workspace into a very fluid concept where location is often irrelevant to the work that a person does. Working with a diverse group of people when they are in one physical location presents challenges for a leader and becomes an even greater task when working with people in different countries in different time zones. Mastering this type of leadership depends on the individual's ability to understand and to respond to others in an emotionally intelligent way. Oh, I think that was part of this slide. Um, so, some skills and techniques for an effective virtual leadership. Virtual leaders must not only possess many qualities similar to leaders in more traditional settings, but also need to possess skills that allow them to manage and communicate with others across a wide geographical area. So, effective virtual leaders have the ability to build and foster relationships and to understand how individuals work together. They recognize cross cultural differences. That's another skill for an emotionally intelligent virtual leader. And one of the keys to virtual leadership is understanding how to adapt in-person leadership techniques to the virtual setting. Okay, the process of defining virtual workplace and workforce. All right, the process that will help you understand the conditions of a virtual work setting and workforce includes, so here's the process. Map out the virtual workforce, figure out people's connections, identify technology, evaluate the learning curve, and evaluate the task ahead. So mapping out the virtual workforce includes you should know who works in what city, who works from home, and on average how often people come to the office if there is even an office. The task is not to monitor how people work, but rather understand if they telecommute, from where, and how often. Figure out people's connections. The nature of the business will likely determine whether individuals actively communicate with one another or rarely communicate and often work by themselves. In a traditional office, you often can easily differentiate introverts from extroverts and adjust your approach in order to work well with both parties. But in a virtual world, this task is more complicated but equally imperative in order for interpersonal relations to have a positive impact on work rather than a negative one. Identifying technology and methods of communication. Before you start training people to use the new technology, it's imperative to know what technology they already use. This way you can communicate with people using technology that they are acquainted with. So this will help you understand what levels of technological competency the individuals possess. Conducting a survey of individuals' prior experience with technology can provide valuable information and save time prior to training. So for example, in our Falcon Online, this is Adobe Connect. So if you were going to go work at a business that permitted working remotely, you already possess the technological ability to work in Adobe Connect. So evaluating the learning curve. Building from the needs assessment discussed above, a leader can shape training to meet the needs of individuals unfamiliar with the new technology. Being aware of and sensitive to an individual's learning curve with regards to new technology will allow you to be more effective as a leader by ensuring that nobody is left behind. And then finally, evaluating the task ahead. Whether building unity among employees, raising corporate morale, or simply encouraging teamwork and collaboration, the next step has less to do with technology as it does to understanding the goals of the team and the virtual environment. So in a virtual work setting, an effective leader must be aware of potential issues and prepared to work creatively to solve them, given the limitation of infrequent face-to-face contact. Let me just see what. Okay, so virtual teams. Let's look at virtual teams. This is a group of individuals working on a common project from different locations using mobile technology, mobile communication, and computer technology. It's important that members of virtual teams are self-sufficient and have awareness of the environment that they work in. These individuals need to manage their own personal development within virtual organizations, be self-motivated, and be able to work independently without direct supervision. A virtual leader has the responsibility to ensure that members of his or her virtual team are working efficiently from their respective work environments, and that project goals are being met. When structuring teams, a leader has to make sure people are on the same page and know the team's goal, ensure that employees relate to each other as team members and not as individual contractors, develop and maintain trust among team members, and work with each member of the team to determine their strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities for improvement. So some of the components that we want to build in virtual teams, the first one is trust. Trust is essential in any form of virtual leadership. Without it, a company is bound to having one office where a manager can easily micromanage everyone 9 to 5, right? As is the case with most virtual organizations, it's important that employees are able to manage themselves. This poses a challenge to leadership. In many cases, virtual leadership involves trust between the manager and the leader and the employee and the follower. Fostering trust is best done through clear communication of expectations and maintaining mutual respect among members. So the sense of community and common values. When people work independently from one another and on their own schedules, they rarely see the organization as a whole, but rather see it as a discrete components. This can mean that people see the organization and its values differently. Creating company or project slogans can help team members maintain focus on team goals and that purpose. However, for day-to-day community building, consistent positive feedback and clear communication among team members is the most effective to build that sense of community and common values. And finally, support systems. Holding a meeting is quite difficult when no one is in the same town and there is a pressing need for team members to get on the same page. An effective virtual team leader can establish systems using technology familiar to team members that will serve to keep everyone focused on team goals and aware of other team members' progress. So using technology. Using technology to enhance virtual organizations. A leader, although he or she does not have to be a programmer or systems administrator, does need to have strong technical skills to take part in continued learning and to stay current, especially if you're going to be a virtual leader. Below, here's a list of available tools that can help virtual companies be successful. So, of course, there's email, which is electronic documents and information transmitted between 2 or more individuals. It's great for quick or long distance communication. One downfall is spam. or unwanted messages. The other is poor grammar. Sometimes people are a little too casual sometimes in emails, which is different from what is traditionally accepted as business appropriate. I'm sure if you had Dr. Deo, Dr. Griffin, they talked about the appropriateness of communicating in the environment of the workplace. So even if it's email, you should still maintain a certain level of propriety. Cellular technology. Cellular technology enables employees to work from any location where a cell phone has coverage, as well as gives them, if you have a smartphone, computer, and internet access without the need for Wi-Fi. Instant messaging or SMS, short message service, that allows employees can send like short text messages back and forth to communicate timely information with their fellow employees and leaders. So you can use an IM service throughout your computer. Some companies are using this technology to get connected with their customers for quicker customer service. Intranets and networks. Intranets are private networks built as an internal website for organizations. These databases are built to help the organization communicate with itself. Organizations also build internal social networks where people can upload pictures, videos, and share personal stories. Let me see what them. Just checking. Okay, blogs. Many Fortune 500 companies use blogs to either connect with their consumers or as a means of building a sense of community among their workers. Blogs, or short for weblogs, are online journals where people share their thoughts with the rest of the world. Some other ones that are not mentioned, like Twitter, twitter.com. It's a social media tool where people and organizations post messages. I think it has to be 125 characters or shorter. Web conferencing, video conferencing, that's what I'm doing right now. I could build a meeting where we could do this live. That would be video conferencing. VoIP, which is Voice over Internet Protocol. That uses the internet to transmit information that is then transferred into voice data. Shared documents like Google Docs, where multiple users can edit at the same time. Project management. It's virtual project management requires a system where people can stay updated on the work that needs to be done. There's certain programs like Basecamp is a project management program that allows businesses to have customizable project boards where people can post projects, messages, to-do lists, and share files. CRM, customer relationship management. That's another. You can get. There's a program called HighRise. It's a tracking system for contacts, leads, deals. Group messaging, virtual training and education is another tool for virtual leadership, and then wikis. Wikis are programs that allow people to create and edit online web page that's open for editing by anyone.